Back then, my world was small but full: weekend pancakes, cartoons with my big sister Amelia, and the sound of Mom humming in the kitchen. I was 6, maybe 7, and everything felt safe. Amelia was 2 years older and always had a way of making the ordinary magical. We'd build blanket forts, pretend the living room was a jungle, and fight over who got the last cookie. But even in our little quarrels, I knew she was my anchor. Then, one Thursday afternoon, my parents sat me down. Mom smiled too much. Dad looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "You're going to stay with Grandma for a bit," she said, brushing my hair back. "Just for the summer. It'll be fun. You'll get to help in her garden." "But why am I going? Is Amelia coming?" "No, sweetheart. She's staying here. She has school things. But you're special. We think you need some space. A little break." I nodded. I didn't really understand. I thought maybe I'd done something wrong. Amelia hugged me that night and said she'd visit soon. She didn't. Grandma's house smelled like cinnamon and old books. She was kind in ways that wrapped around you like a quilt. Always had warm food ready. Always knew when I needed an extra hug. She called me her little light, and in time, her hugs replaced the ones I stopped waiting for from my mom. She tried to fill the gap, and in many ways, she did. She helped with school projects, clapped the loudest at every recital, and read me stories until I fell asleep. But even then, even in those warmest moments, a quiet question sat heavy in my chest. Why me? My parents visited once that first fall, bringing a jacket that was too small and promises of next time. But next time came slowly. Calls turned into messages. Messages turned into silence. Amelia wrote letters for a while, crayon scribbles and smiley faces, but they stopped around Christmas. By the time I was 8, I'd memorized the sound of Grandma's footsteps and forgotten the scent of my old room. Every birthday candle I blew out carried the same silent wish. Why was I the one they sent away? I never asked out loud. I just smiled when they called, when they remembered. And every night, I told myself the same story they told me, that this was for my own good. Even if deep down, it didn't feel true. It happened on a rainy Sunday, the kind where Grandma would make stew and hum old songs from her youth. I was 10, pretending to read in the hallway when I heard her talking on the phone in the kitchen, her voice low, serious. "No, Carol," she said. "I'm not sending him back. You made your choice. You said he was a mistake. Your words, not mine. You wanted one child. And you got your miracle. So don't call now asking how he's doing like you suddenly care." I froze. "Mistake?" Grandma's voice cracked. "You were ready to leave him behind like an extra bag at the airport. I begged you not to. I signed those papers because no child deserves to feel unwanted." The silence in my chest was louder than her words. I backed away quietly and shut myself in the guest room, the only room that had ever felt like mine. I stared at the ceiling for a long time. It wasn't for my good. It wasn't a summer break. I hadn't been chosen. I'd been spared, saved, not because they loved me, but because someone else refused to let go. And for the first time, I stopped wondering why me and started asking who am I to them at all. I grew up with Grandma's values etched into my bones. Work hard, stay honest, and never let anyone tell you what you're worth. I put myself through college on scholarships and late-night shifts, graduated with honors, and built a career in engineering that took me across the country. But no matter how far I went, I always called her on Sundays. She never missed a call. She passed quietly in her sleep when I was 27. The grief hit like a landslide, sudden, suffocating. I flew home and walked into the house that raised me, now unbearably still. The kitchen smelled the same, but the light had gone out. The reading of her will. I expected a few keepsakes, maybe the house if I was lucky. Instead, the lawyer looked at me and said, "She left everything to you, home, savings, even the land." I blinked. "Everything?" "Yes. You're listed as her only heir." 2 days later, my phone lit up like it hadn't in years. First my mother, awkward small talk. Then my father, pretending nothing had ever been wrong. And finally, Amelia. "We should catch up," she said. "It's been too long." I realized then, it wasn't grief that brought them back. It was the inheritance, and the boy they once sent away had suddenly become useful. First, it was just voicemails. My father's stiff voice. "We should talk, son. It's been too long." My mother sent an email with old family photos attached, grainy pictures of birthdays I barely remembered. Then came the invitations. "Come visit for the holidays. Let's start fresh." I wanted to believe them. Part of me still did. But soon, the messages changed. "We're thinking of retiring early," my mom wrote. "Property taxes are just so high now." My dad mentioned some unexpected repairs on their house. Neither asked for money outright. But the direction was clear. They'd lost their safety net. And now I had one. Then Amelia reached out. Her message was simple. Hey, can we meet? Just no talk of wills or family drama. I just want to see you. I stared at the text for a long time. She hadn't contacted me in years, not after the call stopped, not after birthdays went unacknowledged. And now she wanted to talk. I didn't know if she was being honest or playing a softer angle, but curiosity, or maybe something older and more painful, told me to say yes. I replied, named the time and place. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our cities. Amelia looked older, of course. We both did, but there was something softer in her now. Less polished, more real. She hugged me without hesitation, and for a moment, it felt like we were kids again. We talked slowly at first, safe topics, memories that didn't hurt. Then she looked down, twisted her coffee cup, and said, "You think you were the one they gave up on, but you don't know what it was like being the one they kept." I didn't speak, just listened. They weren't parents, she said. Not really. Dad was always working, Mom was always tired. They didn't hug, didn't ask about school. I'd sit at the table in silence most nights. When you left, I thought you were the lucky one. Grandma cared. You had warmth. I had schedules and silence. I blinked, but you had them. She shook her head. I had their presence, not their love. Then she leaned in. And now, they're broke. Dad lost most of his pension in a bad deal. Mom's been borrowing from friends. They're trying to make you feel needed, so you'll feel guilty. For the first time in years, I felt the ground shift beneath the narrative I'd carried all my life. Maybe being sent away wasn't the punishment I thought. Maybe it was protection. They invited me for dinner, home-cooked, just like old times, they said. The house felt smaller than I remembered. Faded pictures lined the hallway. My mother smiled too wide when she opened the door. My father offered a handshake, then changed his mind and tried for a hug. We Saturday we ate. We made small talk. Until my mother cleared her throat. We know we weren't perfect, she said. We made mistakes. Sending you to your grandmother's, maybe we didn't handle that right. I said nothing. But you've done well, my father added. We're proud of you. And now that you're in a good place, maybe you could help us a little. Just until we get back on our feet. There it was. I stayed calm. Why did you really send me away? They exchanged a look. My father sighed. You were struggling. Sensitive. She offered to help. And it wasn't easy raising two. You mean Grandma took custody? My mother stiffened. We didn't want it to feel official. Was it? I asked. Was there a court filing? Another pause. My father looked down. Yes, he finally said. We signed over legal guardianship. It was permanent. The room spun. All those years, believing it was temporary, believing I might come home if I behaved, if I earned it. They'd given me away, officially, silently, and never told me. I didn't storm out. I didn't shout. I just stood there, nodded once, and said, thanks for the honesty. That night, I walked alone through streets I used to bike as a child, only now they felt smaller, like the illusion of home had finally shrunk to fit reality. Over the next few weeks, I met with a lawyer. The inheritance stayed in my name. The house, the land. The savings, mine. Grandma had trusted me with what she built, and I wouldn't betray that. But I didn't shut the door completely. I helped Amelia pay off her student loans. She never asked, never expected it. But she cried when I told her. As for my parents, I offered help, but with conditions. Therapy, written boundaries, honest conversations. No games. No guilt. If you want a relationship, I told them, it has to be based on truth, not tactics. They agreed. Time will tell if it lasts. Now I live in Grandma's house. I restored her garden. I host Sunday dinners for friends, for Amelia, for the kind of people who choose you without papers or obligation. And for the first time, I feel rooted. Not because of blood, but because of choice. I wasn't exiled. I was replanted. And I've grown just fine.